Welcome to our webinar, Quick Simple Tips to Improve Your Email Results in Constant Contact. Thanks for joining the session today. This is an on-demand, hour-long session. You can feel free to pause, rewind, skip as needed in the recording. If you need more time with the recording after the session closes out, we will send you an email with a link to the recording as well, so you can rewatch it as many times as you need. If you have any questions as you're going through the webinar today, there's a Q&A window on the right side of your screen. Type in any questions you have there to get a quick response. But with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. And before we fully dive into our session today, I did want to give you an overview of all of the different tools that Constant Contact has to offer. We have tools for creating great looking email marketing campaigns. That's mostly what we're going to focus on today, is email marketing and improving the results of your email marketing. We'll be able to look at some of the reporting features that you have access to, and we'll be getting into an email and the editor and building out those campaigns as well. But we do also have many other tools like our automation, so you can automate your email marketing and your text marketing. We have list growth tools to help you grow your contact list, digital ads for Google, Facebook, and Instagram. Those can also help you grow your list and just get your name out there as well. And then we also have social media posting tools. So once you've got your email marketing strategy down, you can start posting to social media through Constant Contact as well. You can post to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And then we also offer SMS text marketing. So you can actually send text messages to your subscribers. We also have an events platform and more. So we have all these great tools and features and all the expert guidance you need to help you succeed, all in one marketing platform for you. But with that, let's fully dive into our session and talk about improving your email marketing results. As a small business marketer, we know that you're busy. You spend time creating, writing content, formatting your emails, but it's not enough to just send an email and hope that your readers open it. Open rate is just one small part in measuring the success of your email marketing. The biggest thing is you need to get them to engage with your email and take an action to help you meet the goal that you would like to meet. So whether that's getting sales, increasing donations, getting people to register for an event, or just click through to your website to read more information about your business or nonprofit. So how do you get more people to engage and take the actions that you want them to take? That's what we're here to talk about today. We've put together a list of 9 tips to help you improve your email marketing results. Now let's see more specifically what we'll be covering in this session. So first, we'll be talking about all the different reporting options and metrics that you get in Constant Contact. We'll give you a brief definition up front, just so you have a clear picture of how you will be measuring your progress, and more importantly, how to spot the specific areas where you can boost your results. And then we'll jump into a demo in a Constant Contact account and walk through 9 tips to improve those results. We'll be talking about how to drive deeper engagement and turn your opens and clicks into real results. And just a quick introduction before we fully dive into that. My name's Caitlin, and I'm a content manager for webinars at Constant Contact. I've been here about 12 years, so I have a lot of experience with the platform and email marketing. I'm excited to share some of my knowledge with you today. As I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions as you're going through this session, feel free to click over to the Q&A box on the right side of your screen, kind of bottom right, and ask your questions there. You'll get a lot of helpful information from our Q&A window, and we just want to make sure you have all the information you need before we wrap up today. But with that, let's dive in. We'll talk about constant contacts reporting and how your email results are measured. Constant Contact provides a lot of great data for each email that you send. And there's a lot of information to look at, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Let's go through a brief definition of each of the main metrics you'll use to measure your results. And we will dive in more depth during the demo, and we'll especially be looking at how to use this information to improve your results. An email open occurs when someone clicks on your email in their inbox and opens it up to read the content. The open rate itself is the percentage of those people that open the email divided by the number of emails that were delivered. And just a little bit of behind the scenes knowledge of how that works. There's an invisible single pixel tracking image in your template. So when someone opens up the email, that image will download and then trigger in our system behind the scenes as an open. Open rate isn't always perfect, which is why we recommend not focusing on open rate alone when you're measuring your success. Some email providers like Google, Yahoo, and Apple Mail now preload images or use privacy protections that sometimes inflate the open rates. So because of this, Constant Contact is working with that and currently working on a way to filter out those automated opens that might not have really been an open. But for now, I recommend focusing less on any immediate instant opens that you get and look more at that engagement that you get a little bit later on. So open rate's a good first step, kind of gives you a place to start, a bit of a benchmark. But when measuring engagement, something that's even more important is the clicks. Clicks are where you're seeing true engagement. A click tells you exactly who is taking action, whether they're buying a product, registering for an event, or visiting your website. Because we can see exactly who clicked, you can use that data to segment your list and target those interested contacts with specific follow-ups later on. Your click rate is measured by dividing the number of clicks divided by those number of emails delivered. Now, the last couple important reports you have access to are unsubscribes and bounces. Unsubscribes are those contacts who have clicked that link that's in the footer of every Constant Contact email and requested to no longer receive future emails. They're automatically removed from your contact list, so you don't need to necessarily take any action there, but they are tracked in your reporting so you can see who it was. They can even leave a reason as to why they unsubscribed. So it's really good feedback for your future strategy as well. So are you sending too many emails? Is your content irrelevant to the people you're sending emails to? It's a really good way to refine that future strategy for your active contacts. And then bounces are the emails that couldn't be delivered. There's various reasons why that can happen. And you do need to take action on these contacts. They will still be in your contact list. So you'll need to go in and actually remove any bounces that you have in order to improve deliverability and your sending reputation. There are several reasons why an email could bounce, and we categorize that into 7 different categories. I'm just going to go through a very brief overview of each. We'll see these in a little bit more detail when we're in the demo. And we do have a handout on the right side of the screen under the Handouts tab. This is a great overview of all of the tips we're going over today, but one of the resources will be about bounces, and it'll summarize these different bounce types that we're talking about here. There's 3 types we recommend you remove. We have the non-existent email addresses. So that's when the internet service provider or ISP says that the email address doesn't exist. Usually it's a typo or they don't work at that company anymore. Suspended is non-existent email addresses that have been bouncing consistently over and over time. If you have too many non-existent email addresses bouncing on a regular basis, that can hurt your sending reputation. So we put them in a suspended status and they're on an internal hold so that you're no longer sending to them. And then the last type we recommend to remove is undeliverable. This is kind of like a busy signal. So the receiving server isn't accepting those emails. Constant Contact tries to deliver it for 3 days. And if it still doesn't go through, it'll come back as a bounce back. Now there's 4 other types. These you don't necessarily have to remove immediately, but do keep an eye on them. So we have blocked. This is where the ISP thinks maybe your email was spam. So it's just preventing the email from being delivered. So in that case, you could review your content, switch things up, and hopefully prevent that type of bounce in the future. And you don't necessarily need to remove those email addresses. And then mailbox full and auto reply, those are pretty self-explanatory. Those people are maybe just on vacation or need to delete some emails out of their inboxes. Do keep an eye on it though. If you're seeing someone bounce over and over and over in this category, maybe it is time to remove them. Maybe they're not using that email address anymore or also don't work at that company. And then the final one is just other. If it can't be categorized in any of the other categories, we'll mark it as other. So those are just kind of keep an eye on as well. Try to find a different email address for those contacts if possible. But the best thing to do is review your bounces and delete the non-existent, suspended, and undeliverable. We'll be going through that fully here in the demo in a minute. But something to keep in mind as you're reviewing your results is you don't want to focus entirely on opens and clicks alone. The open and click rates are just a starting point to understand the impact of your email marketing on your business goals. As I mentioned, there are circumstances where the open rate isn't even 100% accurate. Sometimes the click rate isn't 100% accurate as well. We do have bot click filtering in our reporting, which is helpful. So it usually does filter out any bot clicks that might happen. But this is something all email marketing service providers run into is the open rate and the click rate could be slightly inflated. There's always that margin for error, no matter what platform you're using. So because of that, it's really important to focus on the end results and the actions people are taking. And then are they doing it? So you might look at your conversion rate, your return on investment. Are you getting registrations for an event? Sales, donations, that's where you can really look at areas to improve. But with that, now you know what's measured in Constant Contact. You have an idea of what to monitor and where to set your goals in terms of successful results. So that brings us to our next section. Let's talk about how to actually influence better results for your email campaigns. I'm going to jump in to a Constant Contact account and share 9 tips to help you improve your results and demo the tools you'll need along the way. All right, in our demo, I am going to build an email with all of the best practices and tips we're reviewing today. And then we will dive in and look closer at all of those reporting metrics as well. So let me open up an email draft I have started to work on. And then this is something we can go through together and apply all of the best practices that we recommend to help improve your results. Our first few tips have to do with strategies to entice your readers to open the email, because that's the best place to start. In order to drive results and meet your goals, you need to catch readers' attention in the inbox. So let's go into our email settings here and talk about the different elements that people see in their inbox and how to optimize them. And there's 3 important things here to pay attention to. So we have the from information, the name and email address, and then the subject line and the preheader. So let's start with the from name. So tip number 1 is to make your from information recognizable. People open emails from senders that they know and trust. And this is something you do want to keep consistent every time you send an email so they know exactly who it's coming from. So you probably already have your business name filled in if you had that set up in your account information. If you've already sent an email before, hopefully you've filled that out as a recognizable name already. But for mine, I'm going to go ahead and update it to the name of our example business today, which is Jack's Consulting. So our example, we're a B2B marketing firm that is sending out an email to try to get prospects to schedule a consultation with us. So then this is the name we'll want to use in every email. We'll keep it consistent. And then when it comes to the from email address, we recommend an email address with your company's domain. So something like jack@jacksconsulting.com would probably be the best for this example. Now, if you are using an email address from your business domain, you will need to enable email authentication within your Constant Contact account and work with your mail administrator to ensure your domain has what's called a DMARC record. There's policies from email programs like Yahoo and Google that require authenticated email addresses. So that's a whole topic in and of itself. So if you want to read more into that, click over to the handout tab on the right side. Open up the handout, you can download that, and one of the resources in there will talk more about what all of that entails. Now, if you don't have an email address from your domain and you're just using like a Gmail, a Yahoo, a Hotmail email address for your business, Constant Contact automatically rewrites your from email address for you. It'll update it to our own authenticated domain, and then you can customize that a little bit to have it match your business more, but it will update that for you to make sure your email gets delivered. So for my example, I'm just choosing one of the authenticated email addresses on my account, but then I'm going to make the reply to email address different. So if someone replies to this email that you send, this is where that email will go. It is very important that you keep an eye on this inbox and follow up with those people. This is a really good way to drive engagement. You can even encourage your readers to reply to the email and answer a question you ask them or things like that. When you're getting that engagement, that can help you build relationships with your readers, and it helps with your sending reputation as well if people are engaging with your emails. All right, so that was tip number 1, optimizing your from information. Once they recognize the sender, the next thing they're going to look at is the subject line. So this is our second tip. You really need to capture attention with your subject line. Subject line should entice them to open the email, and they should be short and sweet. And we have a whole bunch of suggestions for subject lines. Also in the handout, you can find a link to a great resource. But just a few ideas right off the bat. You can use the word you or your in the subject line. That just makes it feel a little bit more personal. You can even come over here and personalize it and have their name or other information fill into the subject line. Another option is to create a sense of urgency. So you could say, last chance, register by Friday. You could also think about pulling at their heartstrings a bit. If you're a nonprofit or, trying to collect donations, you could say something like, take 5 minutes to help fight hunger. You could pique their interest, kind of tease them a bit with something like, you don't want to miss this. You could try incorporating numbers, try puns, pop culture references. Asking a question is one of my favorites. That's what I have in mind. Ready for real results. Emojis are an option. You can add emojis into your subject line there. Don't go overboard with that, but definitely, a few emojis can capture their attention. And think about seasonality too. So, if you're in a certain season, that's what's on people's minds. Be current and relate to, what they may be thinking about and interested in that moment. Once you have your subject line crafted and have an initial idea of what you want to do, there's a resource I love to recommend that can actually scan your subject line and give you a grade and tell you how effective it is. And that is called subjectline.com. So what you can do is you just enter in whatever your subject line is and have it evaluated. And then it'll pull in subject line best practices and other tips and let you know how strong it is. So my subject line got a 75 out of 100, so not bad, but I could probably do better. So let's see what suggestions it has. So it's saying, here's where it took off points. So it needs subtle urgency. So maybe I need to do something a little more urgent. It contains the word ready and results, and it's marking me off for that. So that must mean these are words that are used very frequently in subject lines. So this is helping me be unique and stand out in the inbox. And then it looks like there's some comments here on my punctuation. You don't want to include too much punctuation in a subject line, like excessive symbols like dollar signs and things like that. But, one exclamation mark is okay, which it let me know that there. And just kind of regular punctuation is usually okay. And it says it contains the word real, and I got positive points for that. So that must mean that's a good word to use. So then here, it even created some ideas for us if I wanted to try something a little bit different. So looking through this, maybe let's try this one instead. Act now for real impact. Let's talk. So I could copy that, paste that back over here, and now I have an even stronger subject line. So that was tip number 2. Tip number 3 is kind of similar, kind of goes along the same lines and goes hand in hand with the subject line. And that is the preheader. So the preheader is a line of text that shows up directly below or after the subject line in the inbox. You can see that's the preheader right there. When preheaders are engaging, when they're personal, they can increase open rates. They're another way to capture attention and pique curiosity. It can be really helpful to use it as an extension of the subject line. So like even continue on the sentence or answer the question that you asked in the subject line or tease at an answer to the question you asked in the subject line. There's a lot of possibilities there too. So we do have another handout for that in the handouts. We have a whole article on preheaders, and you can use all the same suggestions we gave for the subject line for your preheader, and even use subjectline.com for that as well. So mine, I did create a sense of urgency with my preheader. Don't miss out. Transform your marketing approach now. All right, so that covers tips 1, 2, and 3, which is to entice readers to open your email from the inbox. Now, once you get them to open your email, that's the great first step. But then the next thing you need them to do is take an action from your email. Every email you send should have a goal to help you find success in your business. And the best way to do that is to really design your content in a way that drives people to take action. So tip number 4 is get subscribers to take action in your email. And this has a lot to do with the content, specifically a clear call to action in the body of your email. When you're designing an email, there's really only a few essential elements that you need. For each section in your template, you need a picture, a paragraph, and a call to action. And you shouldn't have more than 3 sections per email, is my general suggestion. The less the better, but also do make sure you're giving them enough information so that they can take the action you want them to take. So then when you're building out this content, there's a few questions to ask yourself. First, when you're putting together your headline, you'll ask yourself, what are you offering? or what problem are you solving for them? So in my case, I could put achieve real results for your business. Make it a little bigger. And that looks good there. So I'm helping them achieve real results. That's a problem I am solving for them. So then the paragraph, you should answer the question, how will it help the reader? So you're kind of expanding on what you're offering and letting them know how you will help them. So in this section, I would take out my filler text, and you really only need 3 to 5 sentences. You don't want to do too much longer than that because that takes a lot of time for people to read. People are checking emails on their phones these days. They're busy. You need to give them concise information to drive them towards the call to action. Now, if you need a little help crafting your message, when you're clicked into any text block, there is a Write with AI tool you could try out. So you could set your tone. Maybe I will do professional since I'm a B2B business. And then enter content here. So I'm basically going to ask it to write 3 to 5 sentences summarizing how our marketing consulting business can drive real results. And then I give some background information on what our business does. And I do call out what the call to action is so that it'll integrate that in there. So then I can click create. It'll write out some content for us, which I can then insert. And for the sake of time, we'll just stick with what we have here, but definitely make sure to go in, read through it, edit it, make sure the information is correct, make sure the voice sounds like you, and tailor it exactly the way you want it to. Now, I do want to point out the call to action it wrote out for us. It says, we invite you to take the first step towards enhancing your marketing efforts by scheduling a free consultation. So that's really what it's all about. It's driving them to take this action. And then we've put in a nice, big, clear call to action button for them to easily take that action. So here you want to use action-oriented language, prompting them to do something. So in my case, I could say, schedule your free consultation. And then I would just make sure to add in a link directly to the page I want them to go to. In this example, if I want them to schedule a consultation, I would want them to go straight to a page where they can, whether it's like a calendar or some sort of form they fill out, something they can schedule. You don't want to just drive them only to the home page of your website where they have to then look for the place to schedule. Just drive them directly there. And then the final element to include is a picture. So I have a placeholder here in my template, but really you can click and drag in a picture anywhere. So I would just hop over to my images tab, find something that will engage them and draw them into the message. You can upload images, bring images over from Canva. I'm going to use this one that was already here, uploaded in my library. We could pretend this is, people at the consulting firm. And then the other best practice is to actually make this image a clickable link and link it to the same place as the call to action. So I could come here, add a link to a web page, and just have it go to the same place. So we've provided a second opportunity for them to take the action we want them to take. So that's looking really good. And then the rest of the email I already put together, and it's the same thing. So we have, what are you offering? Which in this case, this is informational content about leveling up their social media marketing. We kept the text boxes short, and we have 2 clear calls to action. And the idea with this section is actually these read more blocks go to Jax Consulting's website, the blog. So this is kind of indirectly driving them to the website And then hopefully while the prospect or customer is there, they'll schedule their free consultation as well. So this is even a roundabout way to also get them to take the action I ultimately want them to take. Your content doesn't always have to be promotional. You can give this informational content as well, and then just, drive them back to where you want them to go. All right, so once you have your content optimized and you feel good about your audience taking action from this email, now it's time to send it. So once you've done your preview and test and it all looks good, we can continue on to the schedule page and talk about a few things here. There's a few strategic things you can do when sending your email to help boost your results. And the first thing is sending the right messages to the right people. Tip number 5. And the best way to do that is to segment your contacts. So here in the audience section, you can either send to a list, and in that case, you can manually create lists segmented with different characteristics for your contacts. So you could create a list of people based on demographics, geographic location. Are they a prospect? Are they a customer? Are they a donor? Are they a volunteer? The possibilities are endless. And then you can just target what specific group you want to. The other option is to send to a segment. A segment is something you can create in Constant Contact. You can set criteria, and then our platform will automatically create groups of people for you with that criteria. So I actually want to show you how to create a segment real quick. So let's save our email. We will go to our audience and our lists and segments. So this is really good once you've sent a couple times. If you need some help putting together a segment and want to get really specific and target specific groups of people, I can create a new segment from here. And then this is where I'll enter in the criteria. And there's all sorts of options. So I can have it segment based on information I've uploaded about the contacts, like city, state, job title. Email activities is a good one. So I can target people who've clicked or not clicked on things, not opened, engagement level, and much more. So let's say for my email, I want to target people who have opened, and then you can choose here a specific email, any email, or I'm going to say my last 5 emails. So I want to create a segment of people who are engaged. They've been reading my emails, so they're probably a warmer lead for me. These are the people I want to target with this message. So I can save my segment. And then when we go back to our email, let's go back and we will schedule. That segment will now be on my scheduling page, and I can target them specifically. And what's great is this refreshes automatically too. I could refresh it here right before I send it, but this would bring in everyone who's opened my last 5 emails. Now, segmentation is a whole strategy in and of itself. If you'd like to explore that further, we do have a segmentation webinar that dives into even more best practices and all the different tools you can use to segment your contacts. So I'll have a pop-up come up. This goes straight to our page with all our webinars, and look for the one about segments, and feel free to sign up for that if you're interested. If you can't attend live, we send you a recording as well. All right, so that was tip number 5. Moving on to tip 6, also has to do with sending. And really, you want to optimize and adjust your sending frequency. So as I'm scheduling this out, I want to think about how many emails I've sent recently, how many emails I want to send in the future. You really want to send often enough that they don't forget about you, but not too much, of course. It's frustrating to get lots of emails from any one sender. So how do you get it just right? Well, there's things to consider. Think about your audience, which if you've segmented your list, you should know very specifically who your audience is. So think about, if you're targeting businesses, you probably want to send during the day. And you probably want to send, think about their patterns. Is it the end of quarter one? Are they going to be busy with those types of things? Is it tax season? If you're an accountant, you probably do want to send during tax season. Also think about your goals. Is this kind of an urgent time-based message? Is it just an informational blog you want to send out? If it's time-based and there's a deadline, whether there's a sale coming up soon or an event you want them to register for, probably want to send a little bit more often for that because you're trying to remind them and garner that registration or, people showing up for the sale. But informational content you can probably send less frequently because it's not urgent. And then the final thing is set expectations. So when they're signing up to receive emails from you, let them know right when they sign up how many emails they'll be receiving. So you could say, sign up for my monthly newsletter, sign up for my bi-monthly updates or bi-weekly updates, whatever it is. Then once they know exactly what they're signing up for, you already have a schedule set up already. We do say, though, send at least once a month. Any less than that, and they may forget about you. Unless they're signing up specifically for like a quarterly newsletter, I would send at least once a month. Usually twice a month is sort of the sweet spot, but once again, there's lots of things to consider, as I already mentioned. So for my email, let's say I'm planning to send 2 emails in March to this group, and this will be my first March email. So I'll choose Wednesday at 8 a.m. Now you may be wondering, why did I choose Wednesday at 8 a.m.? I'll show you here in a minute. There's actually a way to look at your reporting and determine a good day and time to send your emails. But one final note I want to go over here, tip number 7, is to resend your emails to non-openers. This is a feature where the email will automatically send to people who haven't opened the email. You can determine when it'll resend. Usually waiting at least 48 hours is good because that'll give people some time to open the original send. But then from there, maybe I want to try the following Monday and I'll do an afternoon time this time to catch the people that didn't work out with Wednesday morning. And then you can change the subject line. By default, it usually just adds the word reminder in front of the original subject line, but you can change it to something completely different. So this is also a good opportunity to test out a different subject line as well. But with that, we are good for sending. So let's schedule this out and we can move on to our last couple tips here. All right, now there are 2 more tips left, and they have to do with the reporting you get after you send an email. So let's close out of our scheduled email and hop over here to the reporting page. So I do want to walk through all of the metrics and stats you have access to, and then I want to show you a couple ways to use this reporting to help improve your results. So here at the top is where you can set your date range for how long you want to view this data for. And then it starts out with just overall performance during that time frame. So the number of emails you sent, how many were delivered, open and click rates, bounces, unsubscribes, and there's even conversion rate and sales if you have your e-commerce platform integrated with Constant Contact. Now, I will let you know the open rate and click rate you're seeing here are definitely higher than normal. This is just a demo account, so this doesn't really reflect normal percentages, I will say. But then below that, you get a visual of those stats as well in a funnel. So starting with your sent all the way through the engagement funnel there. You can see overall open and click rates during this time frame. And it does even compare it against your industry. So if you have an industry set up in your business profile in your account, it'll let you know how you compare to your industry. Although the thing I would encourage you to focus on here is this can just be kind of a general comparison. You can look at it, but you really want to compare your stats against yourself. You'll know for sure how well you're doing if you're improving based on your own results. Opens by device can be helpful. So desktop versus mobile, this can inform your content and how you lay things out in the email. It can help you understand good days and times to send and things like that. Then we have top performing campaigns by open rate and click rate, and low performing campaigns by open and click rate during this time frame. This is really valuable information to kind of analyze. When you're looking at the top performing opens and clicks, you can look for things you've done right. So what links are popular? What are people interested in clicking on? Where in the email did you place that link? And then, the email itself, what day and time did you send? What was the content? How long was it? Look for those things. And then look for the opposite things in the low performing campaigns. Maybe avoid the day and time you sent these. Maybe these links were buried at the bottom of an email, or it's just not content people are interested in. Lots of good information to determine from there. But then here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. So this will have all the email campaigns that you've sent, and then you can look at the specific reporting for that email. So that's what I want to look at here for my most recent sent email. This is where we can really start to get strategic and boost our results. So I do want to walk through this page and kind of what it all means, and then we'll make sure to definitely dig into this. So overview, sends, open rate, click rate, and then it gives us this graph. So this is showing us the journey of the email. Starting over here, I sent this to 18 people. It was delivered to 11 people, and I got 7 bounces. We'll come back to those. Of those 11 people, 2 people opened it, which means there were 10 people that did not open it. And then with those opens, we got 1 link click from that. And then, so these non-openers, I had resend to non-openers turned on. So a few days later, it sent to those 10 people. All of those were delivered, which is great. And then we got 8 opens from the resend. So that was a very successful approach for this email. There are only 2 people that didn't open it. And then among those opens, we got 4 clicks. So that's what this graph means. It's just showing you the journey of the email with the resend and all of that good stuff. But then we can come down here and look at the numbers and really drill into these reports. So this brings us back to our tips, and tip number 8, you need to find the right day and time to send your email. And the best way to do that is looking at your open report. So I'm actually going to look at the 8 opens from my resend. This seems to be more successful than the original send. You can see it breaks it down, original, resend combined. So I'm going to look at my 8 opens from the resend to look for trends. This will tell me who opened it and then the day and time they opened it. And this is what you're really going to want to look at. So you can see with this group, most of them opened it in the morning. This was a Wednesday, and I would say like 8 a.m. is a good time frame that they opened it. So that's why I chose Wednesday at 8 a.m. when I scheduled my email. Now, there were some stragglers later in the day. So for my resend, that's why I chose an afternoon time to hopefully bring in some of these stragglers that do like to open it later in the day. So it's as simple as that, just digging into the reporting and look at those days and times that you're getting results and base your strategy on that. And you can, test different days and times out, but then once you find one that works really well, just stick with it. And then you'll have a consistent sending schedule, and people will even begin to start to anticipate receiving your emails. Now, the other reporting I want to dig into, let's go back, is the bounces. So we talked about those earlier. Tip number 9, our final tip, is to keep your list clean by removing your bounces. So I want to look at the 7 bounces I got from this email. I'll click on the number 7. And then here's a list of everyone that bounced. This column does show the bounce type. So as a reminder, suspended are email addresses that have bounced as non-existent multiple times. Because of that, they are placed on an internal hold on our servers, and we're not even sending to them anymore. We want to protect your sending reputation. When you get a lot of non-existent bounces on a regular basis, that can impact your deliverability and that sending reputation. So we want to help avoid that. So you definitely want to delete these because they're not getting the email. But if it is a valid email address, you're not noticing a typo or anything like that, you can come here to this menu and unsuspend it. You can only do this once, but this will take them off that internal block list. And then the next time you send an email, it will send to them. It's not guaranteed that it won't bounce, but it does give it another chance. Now, if it does bounce back again, then it'll be suspended, and then it's time to delete it or try to get a different email address from them. And then the others, you just want to review them. So it could be a typo. That's usually non-existent, is either a typo or they just don't have that email address anymore. Like they don't work at that company anymore. So if you do notice a typo, you can click on the contact, you can edit the contact, change it, and save it, and then their information will be updated so that the next time you send an email, hopefully they'll get it. Hopefully it'll be correct at that point. Now, beyond that, once you've reviewed it, looked for typos, from there, you will want to delete the rest of the bounces. You need to keep your list clean and make room for valid email addresses in your list. To remove your bounces, you'll check the box. You could select them all, like I did, or pick and choose which ones you want to remove. Go to Actions and Delete, and then you get a choice. Do I want to just delete these but not unsubscribe them? Or I can delete and unsubscribe. Unsubscribing is a good idea because when a contact is unsubscribed, you can't add them back by accident. The only way they can get back on your list is if they resubscribe themselves. So this makes it to where you don't accidentally add them back in the future if you have an old list you're uploading or things like that. But you get the choice, either one. But then when you delete them, they'll be out of your list, out of your account, and you don't have to worry about those anymore. And that was our last tip, keeping your list clean by removing your bounces. So with that, that is the end of our demo. We're almost ready to wrap up here. But I do want to address some common questions that we get about reporting and just some of these topics to make sure you have all the information you need before we wrap up today. So one thing we get asked about a lot is back here on the spam reports. So what does spam reports mean? Does that mean it went to spam? Does that mean they marked it as spam? The answer to that is these are ones that marked it as spam. So if you've seen it in your inbox, in Gmail or whatever program you use, you can just click this is spam and it'll mark it as spam. Our system will track that then. It'll unsubscribe them automatically, so you don't have to worry about, figuring out who they are and taking them out. That'll be taken care of for you. In terms of emails going to spam, there's not a separate report for that. Those will probably show up in your did not opens. Those would be ones it was delivered, but they didn't see it, so they didn't open it. Now, speaking of unsubscribes, we didn't have any for my email, but if I did, I could click directly into that number to see who they are. Now, these ones are already removed from my list. So unlike the bounces, I don't have to do anything. They're already out of my list, and they're blocked in a way to where I can't add them back. But this is a great report to review because they can leave a comment as to why they unsubscribed. It's optional, but there's a list of reasons. They can check a box indicating why, or they can even leave a custom comment. So if you're getting a lot of unsubscribes, it's worth looking at that. If they have feedback about the content, if they're saying you're sending too much, if they're saying, I don't remember signing up for your list, those are all things that can help inform your strategy. If a lot of people are saying they don't remember signing up for your list, that might mean you're not sending often enough. People forgot who you are. And then when you do send, they unsubscribe. Or you might see the opposite. If they're saying you're sending too much, you can pull back. Or maybe you start segmenting even more and send more often to one group of people and less often to another group of people. Now, the unsubscribes are off your list. You can't email them, but it's good feedback for the rest of your list just to prevent those unsubscribes happening in the future. And another thing on this page I want to show you is the heat map. So this goes back to clicks. Clicks are another good indication of your success. You can see where people are engaging and what content people are interested in. This heat map shows visually what people are clicking on. So I got clicks on my logo because I made my logo a clickable link. And we even had some people clicking on our social media buttons, it looks like. So this will just give you a good idea of, what is popular? What are people interested in? What is content that you can send more of and include in your emails? So that's another great report to look at as well. And then one more common question we get is about click segmentation. So you may have noticed that checkbox when I was adding in a link. And this ties into the whole segmentation tip that we had, which was tip number 5, send the right messages to the right people. So let me point that out as well. If I come back to my email, I'm going to unschedule it and edit it again. You will see when we edit this, I come to my link, I add in my link, this box here, enable click segmentation. So this makes it to where when someone clicks on a link, they get added to a list. So I could choose one of my lists, and then I have another group of people I can target. So just a really good way to automate that segmentation. And once again, we do have a whole webinar on segmentation, so we talk more about things like this, ways you can segment, ways they can segment themselves. I'll make sure you have that resource here at the end. But with that, that is everything for our demo today. Feel free, if you have any additional questions, type them into our Q&A window down there, and you'll get some answers before we wrap up. But let's go ahead and hop back into our slides and wrap up today and just do a recap here of all the different tips. So to recap today, understanding how to improve your email marketing is going to help you get the results that you're looking for, whether it's to increase sales, get more donations, or more supporters or clients. So don't forget about the 9 tips we went through today. As a recap here, they are to use recognizable from information, capture attention with enticing subject lines and pre-headers, encourage people to take action from your emails with a clear call to action, strategically segment your contact lists, adjust your sending frequency to an ideal number of emails sent, resend to non-openers, make sure to send at the right day and time, and keep your list clean by deleting your bounces. As I've mentioned a couple times, if you click over to the Handouts tab on the right side, you'll find a link to a handout. This has all those 9 tips in there, along with some resources to help supplement the tips and give you some additional things to read and learn. And we are here to help. So whether you need help putting together a custom marketing plan, if after you've tried these tips, you want to get even more advanced or even more custom for your business, or if you're finding out you're busy and you need someone to do the work for you, we have professional marketing services that can be personalized to fit your needs and goals. So you can work with a marketing coach on a monthly basis, or there's a couple opportunities to have a marketer do the work for you. Your dedicated marketing expert will make it easy for you throughout the account setup process and beyond to design and implement that marketing plan. So rates start as low as $60 a month for these different services. There is going to be a pop-up on your screen with a link to the page with more information. Feel free to review the options on there. There's even a little form you can fill out on that page if you'd like more information. Someone can give you a call and help you get going with these professional marketing services. I do also want to let you know about another resource we have, which is an additional webinar called How to Segment Your Email List and Constant Contact. This is one of our live webinars that gets presented live twice a month, so you get that live Q&A element, as long as really helpful information about segmentation strategies and the tools in the account. We kind of scratched the surface today with the strategy and what's available, but if you want a whole hour-long session on that specific topic, I'd recommend signing up for this one. So I'm going to do another pop-up on the screen. This link will take you to the page with all our webinars. So look for the one about segmentation, but there's many other options there as well. Some are on demand like this one, some are live, so feel free to sign up for any you're interested in. If there's any you're unable to attend or you need to leave early or anything like that, we do send you the recording. So you'll always get an email with a link to the recording and usually a handout and some additional resources as well. And then finally, if you think of any other questions after the webinar today, I'd highly encourage you check out our Help Center. You can click the question mark icon in the top right of your account, and you'll find tutorials, FAQs. You can get back to the page with all our webinars to sign up for some more webinars. You can call and chat our support team. They are awesome. We have something called Ask a Trainer, where you can join a virtual session and work one-on-one with a trainer who can give you some more information, and just lots of great things to help continue answering your questions. Feel free to plug in any last questions you have today into the chat window if you have any. But otherwise, there is a survey we'd love for you to take. We can have that pop up on the screen as well in a little pop-up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this session. I go through and read every single one of those responses. So if you have time for a 4-question survey, feel free to fill that out. But other than that, thank you for joining for the session and have a good rest of your day.